What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Physics 7b. This will be lecture 4 on classical mechanics. So today we're going to talk about vectors. We're going to talk a little bit about momentum, Newton's laws, kind of some of the meat and potatoes of the old school physics. So let's hop into the intro. Okay, so the first thing I want to preface by saying here is that this represents a bit of a pivot from things that we've previously done. So far, most of the things we've done have involved fluids. So we've had literal fluid flow through a pipe. We've had an analogous fluid flow through a circuit. We're going to move on now to talking about the mechanics, not fluid mechanics, but the mechanics of individual objects. So we're going to go from Bernoulli over to Newton. Personally, I think it's a good transition. I like Newton a little better. So the new types of questions we'll be trying to ask are questions like, how can I predict the future for individual bodies? So for these things we call point masses. An object that's understood to take up basically no space. I could just say, like, there it is. It's at one particular point in space, as opposed to a circuit where it's like, okay, well, there's just some generalized current that's flowing all over the place here. So a point mass is like one object, just a simple object. It's got one center of mass, one area where it can be roughly said to be like right there. So classical mechanics is largely concerned with point masses and how they move under the influence of other things, like if you have gravity, or if you have somebody pushing on the mass. So another thing we're going to be exploring is what things are conserved. So what things are invariant through time? What things don't change as time dials forward in the universe? Now, to address these questions, we're going to need a few concepts. So that's what the bulk of this lecture is going to be about. Is these 5 concepts: vectors, momentum, force, impulse, and Newton's laws to wrap up. We're going to cover Newton's laws indirectly through our discussion of force, impulse, and momentum, but I'm going to go ahead and state them too just for fun. The first lecture will be on vectors. That's coming up here in a second. And I think overall, in terms of like knowledge to carry forward, vectors is actually a really useful one for a variety of fields. So vectors are one of the better things to learn about, even if it's just the math concept. Okay, I want to bring up that this stuff is around 300 years old. If you've heard of the Principia of Mathematica, Newton made it. Newton wrote it like a gazillion years ago, 300 years ago. And it's turned into a bit of a meme in physics for a couple of reasons. One reason is just because like everybody references it, but no one reads it, like me. I haven't read it. um, but also, it's a meme at this point because he wrote it during a quarantine. So some folks were like, we could be using this quarantine to do lots of good research. It's a real hoot among grad students. Okay, so in the next video, we'll launch right in with some discussion of vectors, these new objects, these new mathematical objects we're going to use to talk about forces, velocity, and momentum. I'll see you there.